And I love you a whole lot.
You are very beautiful, and I am glad I have you. I am blessed to have you. I would never ask for anything less than you. I appreciate all the years you've had together. Looking for many more, even with your white hair coming wisdom.
My wisdom.
I just appreciate you so much. You've made me grow, and we've grown together, and it's what makes us.
I also adore the heck out of you. And I really appreciate everything that you do for us as a family. And I am very grateful because you have you've really worked very hard to provide for us in every way. So we're very grateful. I'm very grateful. I'm African Daisy, or Mama Selena. I was born in the United States of America, and the state I live in is Pennsylvania. And right now we are in Eldoret, Kenya. So yeah, we moved here about a few years ago.
Kenyan American trucker hapa, Brian Kimeli, for my name's born and raised in Kitale, Kenya, and then happened to come here and love Eldoret. Met her in Eldoret, so we happened to live close to our uncle, and he gave us a little bit of this land, and we bought a little bit of it, and now we made this our home.
Growing up, very good home life. I'm very grateful. I still have very amazing parents. So yeah, we had a bakery, and that was the business that my parents did, and that's what I did growing up. And then early on, I got into missions, I guess you would say. So very early on, I started coming to Kenya. So that was kind of my first introduction.
Okay.
Yeah, I went to school early years. I went to private school. My parents really felt like it was important that I went to a Christian school. So so I went to up until high school.
Okay.
Then I homeschooled. I did not want to go back to school.
Okay.
I chose homeschooling.
Nice.
Growing up was really hard. I grew up. I was born. My mom gave birth to me when she was 16, so she was still in school. So it was a tough life. So she had to go back to school. So she left me with her sister, which is my aunt. So my aunt took care of me when she was. When my mom was in school, and then of course when I got to grow up, I realized maybe I didn't grow up with my parents, so life was tough, but that's what made me who I am today. I went to school in Kitale, both primary and high school, so I did all my schooling, and I did a little bit of boarding and then I day schooled for the rest of primary. I did a little bit of boarding later in primary, and then I did day school, all high school, in Kitale, Kenya. After high school, I went to Uganda, Tororo, a place called Tororo, a school called Topa, Tororo Progressive Academy. I had my aunt that was in the States actually paid for my 2-year Form 5 and 6. So I went there for my Form 5 and 6 in Tororo in Uganda, and then after that I came back home for a little bit, and then that's how I was to go to university in Kampala, Uganda, but my aunt, she lost her house in the States. It caught fire and she lost everything, so she couldn't support me, so I ended up not going to university, so that's how I ended up in Eldoret.
And meeting me.
And meeting her.
Yeah, so actually through high school I was traveling. Like the first time I came to Kenya was 16. So so I would come here, and then I'd come back, and then I would come back again. So I think it was like 16 and then 18.
Which year was this?
1998.
That's the first
It was the first time.
Kenya.
And then I would come back like, I think it was 16, and then I think I was 18 because I turned 19. And then, but I would have to, so you come and then you only have 3 months, then you have to renew for another 3 months. So I had to, so I would do that. So then I would be here for 6 months, and then I had to leave the country. I had to go back, and then I had to work because now I had no money. So I had to start working all over again so I could buy another ticket, so I could come back again. So I did that for quite a number of years, and then, but at that time I'd mostly stayed in Nairobi. And then I happened to meet his aunt,
Yeah, my
his aunt,
Yep.
in the States. I came mostly the first time I came. When I first came, I remember I got home and I just told the Lord, really, I don't really want to come back unless you want me to come back, like really. So I just specifically asked the Lord, like, so he made it very clear that, yeah, this is where I was supposed to be. In Kenya, yeah. So, but he had just said not yet, and I'm not a very patient person, so I just knew. So I would just find myself, like I would work, I would just find myself coming back, and then not really having any kind of I don't know that I had major direction. Some people are way more organized and have, a plan of action. I really didn't. I just knew I was supposed to be here. So
vacation kind or missionally or to
mission,
visit?
yeah, like to live, really to live. I knew I was to come live here. Yeah, like because I have a missionary calling on my life, so it's like the understanding that it's not just to go as a missionary for a few months or a few years. It's like it's just to take like what you know to be true in one culture and pick up a whole new set of ideas in another culture and settle in another culture. So yeah, I've loved this. I've known it. So I've loved Kenya from that time.
Okay.
And so then when when did I meet you? I met you. Oh, when I met his aunt.
In the States now.
Now in the States, she was from here, from Eldred. That's kind of like the connection I had.
How did you
get to Eldred? She was there. She had just come, and she was speaking somewhere. And somebody I knew said, "Hey, there's this Kenyan lady that is speaking," because everybody knew I was coming to Kenya.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So I said, "Okay, I'll go listen." And then I found out she was from Eldred, that her dad has a school. So I said, "Okay." So she had said, why don't you come to Eldred sometime? So that's what I did. I worked, I got my things together, and then like I had tried to actually go through church through missions, but that was not quite going the way I thought it should go. So then I decided, I should have something that I'm doing. So I got I got certified to teach English as a second language. And then I talked with my mentors and my parents and boarded a plane. A one-way ticket, and I came.
With the aunt now?
No, just by myself. I mean, I knew I came here to come to Eldred because I knew she was here now.
Okay.
Like I knew of this place.
Okay.
So it was through her that I got connected with somebody, and they brought me here. So I got to know Agui.
Which is the dad.
And then that's how he connected me with the school. So I started teaching. Yeah. So that's what I was doing before I met this guy.
Okay.
So I thought it was taking a long time. I was really like, God, surely there has to be a man in this world. So, but anyway, thankfully.
So
God
before
knew.
you met with him, back then when you were visiting Kenya for the first time, what was your expectation coming to Africa for the first time?
Well, I had just told the Lord that I don't want to go anywhere that's like America. I did not want to. There was missions was really big. My church was very big on missions, but everyone, they were going to places like Australia and England, and and they're different. I understand they're very different than America too, but I felt like it was too much like America. I really wanted something that was very different. So I don't know why I said that. I have no idea. I probably wouldn't have said that if I had known the repercussions, what that exactly meant. But I'm glad I said it because, now I'm glad I said it. But yeah, I just wanted something very different. So when I got a chance to come, when I was 16, we went to Kibera. We spent in Kibera. And that was, for me, very life-changing because I, up until that point, had never seen that severe poverty. I had just never seen that. Right next to the very wealthy, how Kibera is laid out there. It's like the wealth right next to the poverty. So, seeing a mom throw her baby down because she doesn't have enough milk to feed her baby, having to decide what to do. I've never had, no one that I've known has ever had to make that decision. So, and then you see maybe a man drunk in the sewer because he has no hope. There's something that really struck me in that. And the other thing was the hospitality. They really had nothing. But when we got there, they found every stool they could find for us to sit on. And then and they would make us tea, and we drank so much tea that time till we were overflowing.
And yet they don't have anything.
Yeah, and yet they really you knew that maybe, and some of them they would make us food, and you just knew that maybe that was it. That was the food that they were having. Yeah. So we did a few things, we would visit them, and then at the end of the week, we would buy bread and milk and different things, and then have share testimonies and all that.
Your aunt, lost the house. You didn't go to university. What were you doing with your life?
So at that point, I kind of lost hope. I was wondering, I would just basically survive. So I happened to come here, and my uncle had built a house here, so I came here in Eldoret to just help with cows and farm work, gardener kind of thing. And that is really what I did, and there was nothing to do. I couldn't go to college, so I didn't have anything to do, so I came to Eldoret. I helped a little bit, and then at some point I think my mom took a loan, and we bought a motorbike. So I used to do a border in town, and in Eldoret town, to drop people off. So something kind of a taxi, but dropping people off with motorbikes. And a long story, this one I'll just say it shortly, but I ended up being I took a customer at night, and they took me somewhere. I dropped a customer, and he had planned other 5 guys, and they really beat me badly. I hope I didn't take any pictures, but they beat me badly, and that motorbike was gone, and it was alone. So, and that really affected me that time, because I used to go to church, and at some point after I lost the motorbike, now I didn't go to college. Now I've lost the motorbike. My mom is struggling. My dad had died, and now I don't have a motorbike that my mom took a loan and guaranteed that I'll pay. So life became really hard for a minute there, and my dad, who took care of us, was a police officer. So my mom just guaranteed the bank that he will pay back the loan. So kind of that's how life went. So I was just in Eldoret, basically doing kibarua. Just If I get a job, I do it. If I have nothing, I have nothing.
And we were dating at that time.
And that's actually we had just met. This was around 2009, around basically from I think from January, and then we met with you in April of 2009. And then we dated for like 2 months, and then she went back to the States. And between those 2 months is when I lost the motorbike, and she was in the States, and I lost the phone.
Lost him.
I almost
killed it. They tried to kill him. Is what
I almost died because I remember the guy, like he had a leather jacket. I had a leather jacket, and he basically like put stuff on my mouth, tied my mouth, and he put the leather jacket on the front of my face and tied it. And then at some point I just knew I was gonna die because I was not breathing.
And the heartbeat.
And I felt death, and I just screamed, and I told the guy, "Musiniwe, tafadhali musiniwe tu, musiniwe tafadhali." And the guy, actually, to this day I think it's God, because the guy actually let me breathe. Like he opened the thing and let me breathe. So they took me to a place, it's a showground, it's called Race Course, and they just threw me on a field. I was tied, and they just threw me on a field, because after they had beaten me, it was I took the guy to the showground gate, Eldoret showground gate, and then when he went to pay me, he kind of pulled back the money and hit me with a log or a tree. And then the other guys came and they beat me, and they tied me, put me in a car, and 2 guys sat on me, and that's when they took me and threw me in the race course. And I just thank God, because I always say this will be a testimony, because the feeling for a couple of years I just was scared of. I still don't walk at night. I am afraid of a human being in the dark, because a human being can plan and just like you don't know what the other person is thinking of you at night. So when they stole the bike, I called my cousin. He came and picked me up. He took me to Eldoret Referral Hospital. I was treated, and then they let me go home. It wasn't that bad, but I was swollen, so I didn't have a phone. Now I don't have a job. We were renting a small house with 3 other friends of mine, and now I just lost hope. At that point, I didn't have a job, didn't have a motorbike. I still owe a loan, and my friends, now we had to leave the house, and then I had to come back and live at my uncle's house again.
Okay.
And then it's yeah.
So back to Daisy. So Daisy, please tell us how you met your Kenyan husband.
So, well, we were dating at that time. So we started dating.
2009,
Yeah. And then for a short time here, and then I went back. So then over that time we were still dating, just on the phone. But we really knew, we just knew we wanted to get married. And but yeah, he actually, the official, when we met, the first time I ever saw him was, how did you,
I texted you.
I got a text from this guy saying, what did you say? You said,
I see you in church.
Yeah, I see you in church. Can we meet?
So you were living in Eldoret?
At the time, yeah.
At the time.
So you used to attend the same church?
We went to the same church, and of course I stayed with his grandfather. I was staying with his family.
Yeah. So you had his number?
No, I didn't know him. He found
number.
my number. Okay. Yeah. So he got my number.
Who gave you her number?
So this is a story.
He was 60.
So there is a guy that used to work at my grandfather's house, and it's not maybe it doesn't really know about phones very well, but my cousin knew I wanted to marry a white lady.
Okay, so from the
Right.
in your young
Right.
age,
I
you
used to tell my cousin, you know me,
Want a white
I will marry a white lady. When I just touch that skin,
Yeah.
life is good. So so my cousin, his name is Zeph or Zephaniah. So he comes to, I lived with him. We were like twins or triplets. Me, this neighbor, his name is Kibe, and Zeph, we live together. So one day he just comes and he tells me, you know what, Brayo, nimepata ile namba ya ule dem mzungu. Unaitaka? Lete number, my friend. So anyway, so the guy was like, oh, my cousin now was like, you know what, I got I stole the number from Refu's phone. Do you want it? I'm like, yeah, just give me the number.
Yeah, because they knew you wanted a white girl.
Right, and they knew of her. I had told her, hey, there's a white girl. She goes to church. She lives at my grandfather's house. Man, I don't know how I'll get that number. So he knew I wanted the number. So he comes home and he says, hey, I got you the number. I'm like, yeah, give it to me. And that's how I texted. And I just texted. I said, well, I'll text. Whatever happens, happens. And here we are.
And then I said, oh, I wonder who this guy is. So I'm thinking, I had joined the worship team. I was like doing things, so I thought, I wonder if it's one of the guys from church. You know, you speculate, like, who is this guy? So then I said, okay, just introduce yourself, so I know. And then I always left because it was like a movie. Like, so at church, I'm waiting. I can't wait to see who this guy is. And it's like, we go through the whole service, then we get out, and I'm like, now where do I go? Like, do I just stand here? What do I do? And then it was like as if, you know, like in the movie where like people just suddenly like move to the side, and then this guy like walks down, and it like happened like that. Everyone just like moved to the side, and this guy, picky guy, comes down.
Yeah, he was a Buddha guy.
Yes.
So he comes down, and he says, hi, my name is Brian. And then he turns around and leaves.
And then
I was like, well, that was not what I was expecting. So I said, okay. So I walked home. So I get to the house, and I just said thank you. Like, thank you for introducing yourself. And then you got brave.
Yes, actually I didn't get brave because so I asked for the second date. I texted her. I said, hey, could we meet at this it's a hotel, it's a restaurant called Oasis. So I said, could we meet at Oasis?
You were the only Muzungu living in that ministry?
In the
At the
worship
church?
team.
Yes, I was the only one.
Yes, that's how I noticed.
Yeah.
She was very different. So anyway, so I said, could we meet? And she said, yeah. And we planned and we met. That restaurant is still there to this day.
Yeah.
We go there sometime. But she said, yes, we can meet. So then I almost didn't go because I was like, does she speak French? Does she speak English? Maybe I shouldn't go. And so I'm sitting there and I'm telling my friend, can I go?
Well, you feel like you might not be able to speak English.
Yeah, maybe we won't be able to relate. And I'm like, I told my friend, can I go? Can I go or should I not go? And the guy's like, let's go one in Kiswahili, twende bwana nini wewe. So anyway, the funny thing, the guy gave me the courage, and I told him, let's go with you. So we two guys came for a date. So I came with my friend. Funny enough, he's the neighbor now.
Oh, okay.
This is the guy that is my neighbor now. So the guy gave me courage. So anyway, you can say, you'll see us coming in.
Then these two guys come in, and I'm like, oh Lord, which one was it? So
Like,
I'm trying to evaluate which guy was the one that said hi to me. And but anyway, we had a really nice We had a really nice time.
that time.
Yeah.
I paid for the chicken and chips, by the way.
Yes, he did.
And that time
I
you
was
were
a
broke,
gentleman.
you tried.
Yeah, like
Yes.
that was all the money.
And then after second date, chips and chicken.
Chips and chicken, she eats all my money, of course, spends everything. Now I'm broke. So the next date I say, can we go for a walk? It's cheap.
Romantic.
No money, you don't have to pay for anything. And I
But he
say,
did get me chocolate.
yes.
He got me chocolate.
So anyway, second date, I told her, let's go for a walk. I said, hey, I think Mzungus like to go for nature walks. So I said, so anyway, so we set a time. I show up on time, even before time, right? And you showed up. Like I show up and she showed, like we met at like the gate. Like it was like at 2 p.m. I show up even like 1:55.
Yeah.
And she's coming out of the driveway. And I meet her, we start talking, and we took this long walk. From up down there, we walked. Actually, close to where we live now is where we took a walk. And I took her around the forest, the nice, around the trees. I showed her,
What
you
were you
know.
telling her?
Hey, I
Do
just,
the walk?
hey, I was just telling her how I love her, how I, right away, I didn't,
Yeah, there was.
I was not waiting for the moment. So I love her. I have always wanted to marry a white lady, and I brought chocolate, Milky. You know,
Yes.
Milky. I brought a chocolate. I have to be romantic. So anyway, we take this walk and we went and we sat
We decided to
on the
sit there.
grass on the side of the road, and you can tell their story
Yeah.
on that.
So we sat down to eat the chocolate and continue talking. And this guy is coming by. We suddenly see this guy coming on a bike, and he has wood stuck to the sky.
Like Kuni,
Yeah.
basically, with a bike, bicycle.
And he's riding it. But suddenly, almost
looking at
loses
us.
everything because we looked like quite a sight sitting on the road.
Yes,
And he could not keep his eyes
on the
on the
road.
straight and narrow. He was almost falling down, and we were trying not to laugh
Yeah.
because we thought, surely if he falls down, we'll have to help pick up all that wood.
Yeah.
So somehow he remained keeping it, and it did not fall down.
Yeah.
So
was-
that has
yeah.
remained our story of
Yeah.
like how like our second date,
Yeah.
and the guy almost falling with his Kuni. It's like, oh my God! So that was
And what made you love her or like her?
like how specifically or white people.
I don't know if you talk about
You
her
don't like
or
all
about
white
white
people.
people.
I would say, I think when like something that really made me want to marry a white girl was I remember when I was very young, I saw a movie, and I saw a dad. He came from work and he put a tie on his head and he was crawling on the carpet playing with the kids. And I was like, maybe 8 or 9, I don't remember my exact age. But just that, like, because the dads, I didn't have a dad, I didn't know the love of a dad. And I saw that movie, and from that day, I knew, like, I wanted to marry a white girl or an American girl so that one day I can do that
same.
exact thing with my child.
That movie, it was an African dad or
It was a white dad.
Okay.
And from that time, I knew. And I have done that with my daughter Selena. I've played with her on the carpet. So that I have done. Like it's a dream come true.
What attracted you?
So,
Yes, what attracted
so number one, she's beautiful.
Yes.
Very beautiful. And number 2, her hair. I like natural hair. Sorry for those ladies who have wigs. Natural hair and long. She
I
cut
had
it.
it, I cut it.
She
It was
cut this
long.
and she didn't tell me. So I didn't like that she cut her hair. I really
It's
did not.
the hair.
The hair, and she's white,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, and she's beautiful, and she has some meat.
Meat?
Meat.
Has some meat.
She has some
Okay, you
nyama.
love-
Yes, no, love some meat.
So back then, Daisy, you were that size or you were smaller?
Yes, she was smaller, but she had some meat because if she turns around, you can see what I am talking about.
Wait, no looking.
And you, Daisy, what attracted you to him?
Yeah,
Hey,
well, when
I don't know if you felt. Let me listen.
well, I think
You
there was something very different about him, because I remember telling my sister, like, I don't know what it is about him, but I like him a lot. Like, I don't really know him real well, but I just know he's the one. Like, there was a knowing I had with him. I don't know that I had honestly, I didn't have I was in love with him very quickly, which kind of, I was a little bit like, oh dear, like, am I just, because I've waited so long, like, am I just jumping at anything? But I really did. I really just loved him a lot. And I think there was something about, I don't know what specifically was about him. There was something about it. There's something about his character, his being, like who he is, that I still love. And of course now I find him exceptionally handsome. I don't know that I felt that way then. Like, I didn't have that feeling of like, oh, he's the most handsome man in the world. But he was tall and he was dark.
Hey.
And you want tall, dark, and handsome.
Can everyone say amen?
Yes, and so
Please.
he was tall. He was like very tall, and of course he was dark, and so there was that thing of like, yes, we matched nicely, and but he I think it was who he was.
Personality.
Yeah, because
And
like
energy.
it never changed. Like, in other words, that from the picky guy to today. He didn't become this, like, he's this proud guy who thinks he's better than everybody else. And I liked that. I just liked that. Like, he just liked people. And he treated everybody respectfully, and and he was very good to me. He still is. So, yeah.
After second date, and liking each other, because of the next
After second date, I think then we started dating. She would go to Nairobi, sneak. Now I know why she would just leave me and go to Nairobi. And now she told me after we got married that she would go to pray and ask God if I'm the right guy. So, but we would talk every day, morning and evening. I'll call her morning and evening. So, and now I used, I would just make sure morning, good morning, and good night we will talk. So you would, and she would leave to Nairobi like 5 a.m. And I would pick her up and take her to a hotel, or stage. You know those stage hotels, and they don't close them. They are 24 hours. So I'll take her. There was it was called like a prestige restaurant. So I'll take her there. We will have chai and chapati in the morning, and then she would leave for Nairobi, and then we'll talk on the phone, and then she came back to Eldoret, and then you went, I think, another time to Nairobi, and then at some point you went to Nairobi and you had to fly to the States. And this is like between April, May, June, I think around June, July, you went to the States. So of course I went to see her off in Nairobi. So I take, at this time I don't have a lot of money, so I take a bus, get to Nairobi, went to where she lived in Karen, and then we
live in Karen.
I stayed with someone there.
So I went there. This is my maybe second time in Nairobi, and just by myself. So I was quite scared. I went, I bought a city hopper all the way to Karen. I met her. We had a good time there. For the first time in my life, I had broccoli. That was my first time. She made me rice and broccoli and I don't know something. But I remember broccoli. I'm like, hii ni chakula ya wazungu. This is like mzungu food.
Yeah.
So anyway, we had that time, and she gave me a book. And I don't know that I've ever even told her this story, but I had one-way ticket to Nairobi. Okay. And I get to Nairobi, of course, I see her off, I have to come back to Eldoret. And I get into a city hopper the next day, because I think you are flying that night.
Yeah.
So I had to come back to Eldoret. So I go to town. So, I have like 30 bob or something, 30 shillings to get me to Nairobi city. So I get to Nairobi city and I have no money. And I didn't tell her.
And you live in town?
And I don't know Nairobi. I don't know anybody. I don't know nothing. So I get to Nairobi and I'm like, now what do I do? I didn't tell her I didn't have money. Now what do I do? So I am walking in town and I don't know how I'm going to get back to Eldoret. So I call my cousin Zeph. And so he starts like, I don't have, but let me ask my sister. So I start walking in Nairobi town, just nowhere, just walking. And
to look busy.
Yes, and I remember I had 20 shillings. And I'm like, this is, I don't have, I can't eat. I can't spend that 20 because I have to get to Eldoret. So I just walk. It was like from morning 9. And Zeph was trying to get me the money to come back. And at 1 o'clock, I think Zeph's sister sent me exactly 600 shillings to get me to Eldoret. And I went and I paid, and I was so hungry. And that's how I got back to Eldoret. Mm-hmm. And the rest is history.
Mm-hmm. She flew back to the U.S.
She flew back to the U.S. Mm-hmm. And we kept talking on the phone.
Yeah, and then we were like, okay, maybe he'll come there for the wedding. Mm-hmm. We'll get married there.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Because we're discussing that.
You had plans for getting married.
Yeah, because we had already
we had sealed the deal
before getting married.
No, not yet.
No, but we had just talked about it. But the issues we had, I don't know, getting him to the States.
Yeah, the visa.
Just like the visa, all the things. So we then decided. The short story goes, basically I talked to my parents and I said, well, other people have destination weddings, so we could have it there. Mm-hmm. So we ended up doing the wedding
in Kenya.
Here. In Kenya, yeah.
So he actually proposed to me that time when I was coming back for the wedding.
Mm-hmm. How did he propose?
I went to the airport to pick her up, mm-hmm. and I had been Chanuad or knew a little bit, and I bought a bouquet of rose flowers. Wait. And I went and I bought a ring, and I bought a ring I could afford, mm-hmm. and I went and
it was pink. It was a pink gemstone.
Yeah. So she came out. I wanted to propose immediately. She came out, but I got scared. So we went to the parking lot, and I went on my knee. Okay. And I proposed, and she said yes.
Yeah. Okay. Are you excited, Daisy?
I was very excited. I knew we were getting married, but it was very exciting.
Yeah.
That feeling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming for wedding.
So yeah.
So then we had a short time to plan.
Right. So when she came on. It was December 30th, I remember, and after that it was wedding. Rush. We came to Eldoret, and it was just wedding plans because your mom and dad were coming. Mm-hmm. So from there on.
But we still didn't have money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So everything was. Everything was like my wedding dress was made in the States, and my parents were bringing it.
Yes.
So I had to have their blessing because they were bringing my dress, mm-hmm. and then so it was made, and then the rings, mm-hmm. we bought them in Nairobi.
Yeah.
So the wedding was here in Eldoret.
Right.
In Kitale.
In Kitale, yeah, where I was born.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we wanted it outside. Mm-hmm. And so his mom really worked hard for us to get it outside because the church that they wanted us to marry in, there was no aisle. There was a lot of things,
Yeah.
but they were really wonderful. They got it worked out. We were able to have an outdoor wedding
Yeah.
and 30 dozen roses, right?
Yep.
30 dozen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now, before wedding, yeah, you told your family you wanna get married in Kenya, and your friends. How was the reaction?
So they didn't have an issue as far as like getting married. I think that the thing was like my sister. I think that it was harder on her because she couldn't come. Like she couldn't be there. So I think that was really hard on her. And me. I mean, I wish I could have brought her, but I just could not. So my parents were able to come. At first, I would say when I suggested to them, I said, what about if we just go there and we get married? I think you know how there are things maybe traditionally, like you just think it might be this way. So I think, you know, they were like, well, we have to think about it. And, but really it was like other people.
Now, telling your friends and family you wanna marry a Mzungu girl, what was the reaction?
My friends were okay. The only person I was afraid what was going to happen was my grandmother, because she took care of me for a long time. And I remember one time I was taking her for a walk, and my grandmother happened to be driving. They were driving from somewhere, and I was just so scared what was going to happen. And then, of course, they stopped, said hi, and they left. And then later, my uncle was driving my grandmother, told me that my grandmother said, that lady, I know her, she's the one. Now my grandmother, she stayed with my grandmother's
Like the
brother.
the brother
Yeah.
to the grandmother.
And
yeah.
so my grandmother said, oh, that is the Mzungu that stays at my brother's house. Brian can marry her. And that was it. When my grandmother said, you can marry her, that was it. My mother, even it didn't matter. My mother was like, if your grandmother says yes,
Because he even said, if grandma doesn't say yes, Gogo doesn't say yes, that's it. And I was like, So I was grateful. So we just come in the house because the rains had decided to come. So we're going to finish from here.
So now, tell us, how was your wedding day?
The wedding day was glorious. We got married.
and it rained.
And it
like
rained,
today.
yeah. We got married. We went to get we went to get the pictures.
Right.
And we finished the pictures and it started downpouring rain. Yeah.
We basically, like, our reception, the pastor preached and we got married, and we were going like maybe 5 kilometers, 5, less than 10. We were going to take pictures in Kitale Club. So we went, we took pictures, we finished taking pictures, and the rain
came. Yeah,
poured,
just as
like,
we finished.
It was like a blessing.
Yeah.
That means God put a seal on this thing.
Yes, and then we went in to eat, and it was inside, so that was good.
And
it was
before
good.
getting married, how long did you date, you guys?
The total time.
We dated for what, 3 months, 6 months?
6 months.
6
total.
months.
It was
Yes,
that quick.
we were.
It was 3
like
months
chapter.
live, and 3 months
Outside.
both different countries.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
And how was the dating life?
It was short, right?
It was short. He was very romantic though. Like if I would be in town, because those days we used to go to town a lot, and then he would like. What was the place? You know how they used to put
There
those.
used to be a restaurant called Prime Chick.
No, but Prime Chick, but the grocery store, like it used to be like you can go in one way and you have to come out another. Like it would be blocked on one side.
Oh, like
Uchumi?
Ukwala.
Ukwala.
They used to be.
So he would find a way, it didn't matter where I was, to sneak up behind me. So it didn't matter any time. If he found out I was in town, and then because I would take public, like pickies, and he was, I don't know, he must have, I didn't try, he just chose to pay for my rides because they were always free.
She's paying for it now.
So They were always free.
Malipo ni hapa hapa.
But yeah, so, but he was always very romantic, which I thought was very unique because I understood that the dating culture here was like you're very private and people don't know you're dating. So to me, it was very romantic.
Yeah,
People knew we were dating.
Yeah, sometimes, like, it was a typical dating because sometimes I'll go to town, I'll meet her, and because I'm the man, I'll buy lunch.
Yeah.
And when I buy lunch, so we used to go to this restaurant called Prime Chick, and she would ask for chicken and chips, and I'll say, me, I'll drink water. And she will eat chicken, and she will eat in the middle and leave all this nyama all around. And I'm swallowing water saying, my friend, that chicken, seriously. I'm hungry, but I'm like, so these days, if she leaves the chicken, I eat it.
He learned.
Because now,
he learned he doesn't say he's hungry. If he's hungry, he could just eat the chicken.
You just say, hey, let's share.
Yeah, we
but
could
when
share.
dating, you want to be perfect.
Yeah.
And like, so our dating was good.
Yeah.
We were together a lot.
We were
Like,
together a lot, yeah.
Every time I was free,
Yeah.
we would be together.
Yeah.
So we were together like the 3 months, it was like,
Yeah, it was a lot. And it was interesting because I felt like maybe the people that I was around, they didn't always approve.
right.
You know, like how, and then for me, I'm just getting to know this guy. So it was a very interesting dynamic here, I would say.
Right.
But it was fabulous. Like, we had a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah, and then, of course, when we were not in the same country, we talked all the time. I spent a lot of money. I spent a lot of money on the phone. Because those days you had to get cards. They didn't have WhatsApp. You had to buy cards to call. And they didn't have a lot of cards to Africa. It was like I had to go searching for those cards to get
And you
money.
said at some point the bill was $400.
Yeah, at
And
some
like,
point.
how could I bought a motorbike?
Yeah.
In Africa, you know when
But
you are changing like, you're calling me, don't call me, give me the money, and then we will meet.
But even I didn't have that money.
Right.
Even myself, I didn't have.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And now, did you go for honeymoon?
Did we go for honeymoon?
The honeymoon story, let me tell you about the honeymoon story.
Yes.
We have two different versions of this, but
Yes, two different, but my version is the right one. So we live, we had rented a house in Eldoret, so we pack our wedding stuff from Kitale. We come, we put it in our rental house. We put everything inside. We didn't open the gifts when we go to Nairobi.
Yeah.
So we go where she used to live in Karen. So we get to Karen and and my aunt, the one that used to pay for me my fees in Uganda, she sent me some money on MoneyGram. And I tell her, hey, let's go to Mombasa. I've never been to Mombasa. Let's go to Mombasa. Yeah, let's go. And she says, no, we cannot go to Mombasa.
no, on my defense, did not tell me that he had money.
No.
No, you
You
didn't
see
say.
the money, you knew he had the money. Wait.
Wait, because he says that, and I don't
She
really
forgot.
recall.
No, I told you my aunt said that, man, let's go to, I'm paying. But she said no. So when I was, the relationship was still tender.
Yeah.
Now I tell her, we're going to Mombasa.
Now we just go.
We
and
just
we go
go.
everywhere.
Yes, we go, yeah. So it was, I think for me, it was an excitement.
Yeah.
And then when she said no, we ended up staying in Karen for our honeymoon.
It was so not as romantic as it could have been or should have been. So I just say, yeah, why I said no, I don't really know. I really don't know. I can't even like,
Know why?
yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why I would have said no.
I
really.
think also we didn't have like money, a lot of money.
Yeah.
So there was like, okay,
How are we going to survive?
If we go to Mombasa, we just spend all these, and so there was a limit. But for me, I was just, let's go. We have this. Let's go. Tomorrow,
It would be way more romantic.
Tomorrow. For me, it was tomorrow.
Yeah.
What knows about tomorrow?
Yeah.
So Brian, talk to your wife and tell her something you've never told her, and maybe a sweet message.
You are very beautiful, and I am glad I have you. I am blessed to have you. I would never ask for anything less than you. I appreciate all the years we've had together. Looking for many more, even with your white hair coming wisdom.
My wisdom.
I just appreciate you so much. You've made me grow, and we've grown together, and it's what makes us.
I also adore the heck out of you. And I really appreciate everything that you do for us as a family. And I am very grateful because you have you've really worked very hard to provide for us in every way. So we're very grateful. I'm very grateful. And I love you a whole lot.
And I did see a mouse at
Okay. Yeah.
Flavor.
Are we supposed to wait by?
Yes.
Bye.
Subscribe to Miss Rachel.
Yes. And subscribe to African Desi channel.
Subscribe to the Kenyan American truck. My friend Mutuyamu iko mambo pande hiyo.
And subscribe.
subscribe to Two Beams channel.
Yeah!